So we have another problem dealing with the area and perimeter of polygons for benchmark G.2.5. Number 3 says Brian is going to plant lawn seed in his backyard shown below. Lawn seed is sold based on the area of the ground. What is the area in square yards of Brian's backyard? So once again, we have our key terms that are located to the left. We have trapezoid, rectangle, and area. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, how did I get a trapezoid out of this figure? So first step, like we've mentioned in the other videos, is to identify the type of shape that you're dealing with. So obviously this is an unknown shape. We don't know what type of shape it is. So we have to break it into shapes that we know. So to me, looking at this, if I take a line from here and draw it straight across here, I can identify easily two shapes that are known to me. The first one is a trapezoid, and we know a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel lines. And then the second shape that I have is a rectangle, and a rectangle has a couple properties as well. We know that a rectangle has two pairs of parallel lines, two pairs of congruent sides as well. So now that we have identified what shapes we're dealing with, the second step would be to actually break up the shapes. So once again, we're going to draw the shapes out. I know the shapes are already drawn, but as I mentioned before, if you are taking the test, you're not able to draw on the computer screen, so it's best that you draw the figures out so you know exactly what you're dealing with. So we're going to draw out our trapezoid first. So here's our trapezoid, and we're going to label our trapezoid. So we have 25 yards here. We have 15 yards here. And then you're probably saying, okay, well, how would I find this side? So if I'm looking at this side in our figure, and we identify that this bottom piece is our rectangle, and we also stated that the properties of a rectangle are that we have two pairs of congruent sides, so that means the measurements are equal. So if this side is 45 yards, then that means that this side is also 45 yards. So if this side is 45 yards, I can label here 45. So now we have our trapezoid drawn. So one of the key terms was area. It mentions here, what is the area in square yards of Brian's backyard? So we know we're dealing with the area of a trapezoid. So where can I find that? We can refer to the reference sheet under area. Here it says the area of a trapezoid is A equals 1/2 H times the quantity of B1 plus B2. So I'm going to write my formula out and include area of a trapezoid at the bottom as a subscript so I can remember what formula that I'm using. So remember, it's 1/2 times H times the quantity of B1 plus B2. So let's go ahead along with the formula. So we have 1/2 times the height. So the height of our trapezoid here is 15. Base 1 is 25 plus base 2, which is 45. So now we just have a simple multiplication and addition to do. So in my calculator, I can use order of operations. So we're going to do parentheses first. So 1/2 times 15, and then 25 plus 45, I know off my head is 70. And now that I have 70, I can just multiply out. So 15 times 70 gives me 1,050. So I have 1/2 times 1,050. Okay? So now that I have 1,050 times 1/2, I can do this two ways. I can say 1,050 times the fraction of 1/2, or I can turn 1/2 into a decimal and say 1,050 times 0.5. So I'm going to say 1,050 times 0.5. And that gives me 525. And it's 525 yards squared. And that's the area of my trapezoid. So now that I have the area of my trapezoid, now we have to move on to the area of the rectangle. Remember, we had two parts. So I'm going to come down here and label area of the rectangle. So once again, we can refer to our reference sheet to find the area of a rectangle. So we're going to come to our area section and try to find rectangle. But as you can see, rectangle is not actually listed. We have something in place, which is called parallelogram. So referring back to the vocabulary that you learned at the beginning of the school year, you can recall that a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides. So as we stated before, our rectangle has two pairs of parallel sides. So because it has two pairs of parallel sides, it is identified as a parallelogram. So we can use this formula on the reference sheet for that figure. So to find the area of a parallelogram is A equals BH, B being the base, H being the height. So we're going to go ahead. Well, first, we should have drawn it like I've stated. So we're going to go ahead and draw it over here first. So we have our rectangle, and it is 20 yards by 45 yards. So we have 20 yards here and 45 here. So now that we have it drawn, we can go ahead and apply the formula, which is A equals BH. So like we stated, B was our base, which is 45, and H was our height, which is 20. So if we're trying to find the area, we're going to go ahead to our calculator and do 20 times 45, which gives us 900. And remember, you are using your units, so it's 900 yards squared. So you're probably saying, okay, we're done. However, remember that it's saying, what is the area in square units of Brian's backyard? This whole entire figure includes Brian's backyard. So what we've done here is only taken the area of these two separate figures. So now we have to find the total area of the backyard. So I'm going to go ahead and label A here and subscript total. And when we reference to the total area, we're meaning that we're taking the sum or adding up both of the areas. So the first area that I had was 525, and the second area that I had here was 900. So we can refer back to our calculator. 900 is already in there, and we can just add 525, and that gives us 1,425. So we have 1,425, remember your units, yards squared. And that is our final answer for this problem.